Welcome to Conversation for the Soul. Today we are here with Lynn Marie, and Lynn Marie is a Qigong practitioner. Welcome, Lynn. How
Thank
are
you so much, Allison. Appreciate it.
We had such a struggle getting this conversation going to me spending half the month of April being sick and still kind of a little bit raspy here, but I so appreciate your patience and I'm so glad to have you here today.
Yeah, no worries. I think a lot of us are struggling. Sounds like things are going on and we're all dealing with it.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of purging, energetic purging going on. I know
Yeah,
so many people struggling with illness right now or, just debilitating issues in the body. So, yeah, well, maybe we can tap into that in a little bit. But first, I'd like to hear about your awakening journey. What got you on this path? Because you started off in the aerospace industry.
I did.
Now here you are doing Qigong. So that's quite a 180-degree turn there, my dear.
Oh, I know. It was a quick awakening, actually. In 2010, my husband died of ALS, and I had just turned 50, and we were just thinking of retirement and a whole bunch of things, and um, yeah, so my life did a 180. ALS is a death sentence. So basically, it was only 15 months for him, and he, had a really brave fight, but it was hard. We had six, kids, and I he did most of the stuff at home. Is kind of what happened, and I had a pretty heavy career. I worked with Boeing. Was my contract that I did for the aerospace company that I work for, and so I was managing a $25 million contract. So I was really busy. So he kind of, he had a he was a maintenance engineer, so he was 9 to 5 pretty much. So he could kind of manage our family, and so it worked out really well. And then when he passed away, it was like, gosh, what do I do? And I still had one in high school, and so we kind of got through it. And she graduated, went on to college, but then I ended up retiring and got pretty bored doing that. And so then I started looking at other things to do, and Qigong was one of them. And at that time, I was 210 pounds. I was on 20 pharmaceutical drugs. Used a cane for a lot of the, longer walking I did. And it was a struggle. I thought I was gonna be destined to a life of disease and pain. I mean, I was on 2 fentanyl patches,
Oh my God.
so I was on like heavy duty pain meds. And then at that time, and this was still during 2010 to maybe 2014, my doctor was just still, sure, here you go, here's some Oxycontin, here's some fentanyl. And so I'm just like, I wasn't even in my right mind for part of it. And so I realized something's not right. So I went off all of that. And then one by one, I just started losing all the pharmaceuticals, because they all had something to do with the pain pills I was on, because it's all just this serotonin, dopamine thing. And once you can figure out the pain in your brain, your body kind of helps respond. And it's not fast, it's hard. It was very hard, but I lost, through 2 years, I lost all the pharmaceuticals. I lost 100 pounds, ditched a lot of crappy food I was eating. And my doctor was just totally blown away by all of it. I had high cholesterol, I was on statins, heart disease medicine, got off all that. And it was through the steady, slowly daily work of Qigong and learning the energy in my own body and learning myself. So during the awakening, I got to know me better, and what it takes to make that what makes me tick, where before it was just my kids and my job, and I got home and I'm just like, okay, let's just eat some food quick sleep and go back at it, right? So that's kind of where I was, and it all changed. So it was really, I'm very happy that I went through the struggle, and anyone can do it. I didn't think I could, but you can.
Now, were you on all these pharmaceuticals when you were working for Boeing?
Yeah. Oh
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Oh yeah. Mhm. Isn't that amazing? I was managing a $25 million contract, but it was such just low dosages that I was probably in a stupor, a tiny, but it never affected my job. It, by the time I was really heavily into the pharmaceuticals, I'd already been doing it for probably 12 years, so it was kind of, I knew my job. Unfortunately, it was a good representation to quit and not work, and see how my body feels. I had some downtime, and that helped.
So your husband transitioned, and after that, you're just kind of looking at your whole life, going, "What's not working here?" And that's when you decided to go this way.
Right.
Now, it just seems like such a 180 going from the aerospace industry to Qigong. I mean, what made you pick that practice rather than picking, like, say, yoga or something else?
Um, well, I've had tried yoga in the past, and some of the asanas, getting on the floor with your elbows and your knees. It's at my age, it just, and I was really heavy. You don't see too many heavy people doing yoga. It's difficult for them, to get on the ground and try to do that. And so I tried yoga, but honestly, my husband had previously done Qigong, and I didn't even realize it till I was reintroduced to it again. I'm like, oh my God, that's what he did. He had done it like 20 years earlier, but so I got reintroduced into this ancient Chinese practice, and it's actually the oldest exercise practice that we currently have right now. It's been depicted on caves in China, like 8,000 years ago, showing people how to move their energy every day is therapeutic, and so it really is, and it's 15 minutes a day, and once you really learn how to do it, it's instrumental in creating health and wellness in your body.
So what things fell into place for you after you started this practice? Did you, like, change the way you eat? Did things shift energetically as a whole in your life? Did you see, like, better things manifesting? What happened?
Well, so I started off in 2014 with ditching everything, and then 2015, 2016, things just started, like I think in 2012 is kind of where my awakening really happened, and during that process, but it was slow. I didn't have like oh, you're awake now, and I see the world differently. I actually have a master's degree from a college, a Catholic college, so I had to take lots of Catholic theology, so and a lot of world theology, and so it gave me a good perspective about religion and ancient religions, and so then I started really, because of that perspective, it made me more curious, and I then started thinking about my own Catholicism, and I was starting to ditch some of the theories that, and I did a lot more research, and did a lot of soul searching as well, finding the right path for me and my prior Catholicism, right, and growing up in Catholic school through my whole career by nuns and priests. You know, so, and I found through my awakening that Jesus was in a scene, and we have such a rich history through there that we haven't been taught, and that we haven't been shown the way. And his awakening process, when he says we need to be born again, it's that we need to be born into our consciousness, is what he's talking about. You know, it's not like we need to pray and, you know, something's going to happen and we're going to be born again. You know, at least that's what I believe, you know, through my research.
So tell us a little bit more about how you started going down that path of researching like the life of Christ, and how do you feel that things got so twisted around, and so like everybody's so staunchly it's the Bible or it's nothing, and it's like, but Jesus was a man just like us, and you know,
Right.
how do you explain that?
Constantine.
Yeah.
Pretty much in a nutshell, and Romans and Constantine and the men of the day were the ones that wrote the Bible. I mean, I believe what Jesus said in the Bible was probably somewhat translated because they wanted to know, you know, they wanted to intersect some of those things. But the Bible and any document like that was written by someone that maybe hopefully had some firsthand accountability to what are the words they're talking about. But the Dead Sea Scrolls now, those, I really believe some of the information on that. And those have, you know, just recently been brought to light and are being identified and looked at more closely. But I believe what happened in the church is that, you know, they wanted to control things, you know, and we're finally done with that control, I believe, after all this time. And I mean, there's a lot of people who believe the Bible, and I honestly, I believe a lot of it, you know, but I also believe that it was also written by the people in charge of the day, and, you know.
So how did you start going down this archaeology path? Is this what kind of opened it up for you, or?
Well, no. So when I was going to Catholic all-girls high school, they didn't want you to do that. You know, they didn't want girls to take those male paths. You know, at least my family didn't. My dad worked for Motorola. He was a businessman, and basically said, yeah, you're going into business school. And I really didn't want to, but I wanted to be an archaeologist. And they're basically like, well, yeah, no, you don't do that. So it's always been my desire, and I love a passion to know ancient things, and because we're not always, the books don't always tell us everything unless it's someone who really knew firsthand experience about what was going on. And I like cave walls and rocks and things that are permanent that kind of really tell us our history.
So, okay, so taking what you know of archaeology and what you've studied on Jesus, paint us a profile of him. What kind of person was he? How is he different than how he's been depicted in the books?
I actually, he probably was depicted similar to the 181 other deities throughout our world that have been depicted as similar. His is just because it was the United Kingdom and America, they just like, okay, this is the way it is, and the rest of the world has to know it. That's why the Bible is so widely known. But everywhere around the world, there's at least 180 different deities that are men that were born to virgins that had the same type of life timeline that Jesus did. And so he's not any special man, he's a man, but what he was special at is that I think he came and he showed us the link between Egypt and us. And so when he was in the scene and he went out basically into the desert, they would go and they would go into these, they look like graves, and they're like the size of a grave. It looks like a tomb or a coffin, but for 3 days, and they would have people watch over them. One individual would go in and go into a conscious state and be there for 3 days, and people would watch over them. And Jesus was one of them, and this is when they would cross over. They would go into the other world and they would talk to God and all, whoever, I don't know who's there, right? But they then would cross over. But then they're, from the writings and from what I've been told, you don't say a whole lot. You're like given this, after you've done that, you can't come back and say, oh my God, I just saw this and that and the other thing. You're kind of given this strict, you better not say anything now that you've been through this initiation, right? And so a lot.
Channeling, is that what they're doing basically?
They're in their conscious. They've crossed over to this conscious realm, and they've left their body. Their body's being tended to by their friends or whoever, but they've left that, and they've gone off for these 72 hours and are communing with the deities or whoever. I have no idea, but the point being though is that is what our purpose is here, is that we're not supposed to wait till we die. And Jesus came to tell us that. We're not supposed to wait till we die to do this amazing thing. We're supposed to do it here. This is heaven on earth, and we're supposed to be able to do that right away. And I think children actually know how to do that and lose that then around age 7. But yes, we're supposed to do that here, in my estimation.
So do you do that?
Oh, of course. I mean, well, I shouldn't say of course. I commune with, I call it the Tao. In Qigong practice, you really get into a very deep meditative state. And I apologize. I have my door open. It's really warm here today in Minnesota.
Oh, nice.
I know, it hasn't been warm and humid in ages. But so you get into this meditative state quite regularly, and you know how to with regular practice. Now, the thing that Jesus did now, I've been there somewhat. I haven't done the 3-day, no. I have not done that. That's shamanic. I am on a shamanic path. I'm studying to be a barefoot doctor. And in China, that's kind of they call it a dragon dog shaman, and they would go from town to town, and because you don't always need a regular medical doctor that heals bones and does surgery. You need someone that's I have a cold and my head hurts, and my tummy hurts today, or just something simple, and there's a Qigong for every single little ailment, and there's a way to move your energy to move that stagnation that's causing illness.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me more about this barefoot doctor journey. That sounds really interesting. What got you down that path?
Just learning about Qigong and how a lot of the women of the day, that's what they would do. They would just, be barefoot walking from town to town and just give their assistance, and they would get paid by chickens, or, the locals would pay them with food. And I really think we need to get back to that one-on-one. And if you do need a doctor, great. Go to a medical doctor. If I have a broken this, or I have a really serious illness that, you know, a local person couldn't fix. But I think for the most part, we lost that, you know, that healing capability that we can do in a community.
Wow. So let's say I have a headache, for example, or now let's even use my real life example. Let's say I have a lot of like postnasal drip. Is there something to work through that? Is that an energy block that I can alleviate somehow?
Yes.
And how would I do that?
So there's several different ways. I mean, I would probably, I mean, I don't treat you at the moment, so I'm not giving you medical advice, so I have to first state that. But so what is the cool part about our hands and feet? So energy begins and ends in our hands and in our feet. And we have, so the first thing you could do just to get energy moving, it's a real easy thing to do, is stamp your feet and clap your hands. Okay, so that kind of gets your energy moving. But so say you have like a lot of postnasal drip. There's acupressure points on your nose and cheeks here that you can do. So like right underneath you feel there's a bone right here. Yeah. So, and does it hurt when you press on it?
No.
No. Okay, so that's a good thing. So you don't have, so come up here then, and then, so is it hurting if you press on it here as you're going along so I would say you don't have any blockages there. It sounds like it may have already moved down, and, you know,
It's all in this area.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say it's probably like in here. So what you can do here, there's points right here that you can either like little peck like a chicken, and just gently, not hard, just gently, as you take a nice breath in through your nose, exhale out your nose, and just do that. It kind of helps clear some of that blockages, you know, that might occur.
So is that similar to tapping?
So tapping actually came from Qigong. Yoga came from Qigong. Like I said, most exercise that we know today originally came from this form of energy exercise. So basically, Qigong breaks down to just meaning energizing exercise. So any way you can move your body, but then they found that in certain ways that you move your body, it can create better balance, and that's kind of what we are looking for.
Interesting. So when you're doing Qigong and you go into your meditative state, what kind of information are you getting? What kinds of things comes through that you could share with us that is just like, you're like, I cannot believe I just received such profound information?
Yeah, wow. There's quite a few of them. So one recent one, I saw all the pyramids in Egypt, and basically it was like they were taken apart and put back together, but the capstone was on, and it kind of, what I saw was that the purpose we think for the current pyramids is not the purpose of it. It's not a burial site. It's an energetic, every single block. So what I was told during this state, if you will, and I get such visuals, and I see such bright colors, and I see the exact things happening. I very, have lots of all my clairs are on board. And so I saw the individual little blocks being made, and it was telling me that those are every single one of us. Every single one of us is the makeup of all those little blocks. And so and what it is we start out with lots of blocks. And as we become enlightened through our life, we should be removing those blocks as we move up into our enlightenment. And the capstone is the gold pinnacle of our self. And I think that's why gold is such a wonderful element. It just shows, it kind of blends all the elements together here on earth, and brings it out into the sun, into the heavens. And so during this time, that's what I saw, was that the pyramids are just energy of all the people together. And I don't know how they were made. I think they were all just energetically put together, and people went there to gain more energy, But but so during my awareness, if you will, it was pretty enlightening that we need to remove, the thing that I got was that we need to remove the heaviness in our life. And we need to, remove all those things to get to enlightenment at the end.
That's beautiful. Now, there's pyramids all over the world that are...
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Not just there.
And do you foresee those starting to reemerge at some point?
Oh, that just got me the chills everywhere. I certainly hope so. They're starting to. Honestly, they have... such good LIDAR, the ground penetrating radar now, where they don't have to maybe disturb things. And what excites me is, like, in India, they're starting to depict some of the Sanskrit that they never had done before, and it's pretty amazing. And they're finding all over the world, like you said, all those pyramid shaped, and we still, what are they there for? What did those ancients do with them, right?
Yeah.
I want to know. I think they crossed over somewhere into I don't know.
Well, being an archaeologist or an aficionado of archaeology, I want to pose this question to you. Have you heard of the mud flood of Tartaria?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering if you had any insight on that, because that's a new one that just came into my awareness about a month ago, and I am fascinated by it. And to me, it feels like perhaps that's what happened to a lot of these pyramids, that they just...
Oh, totally. They just got dumped with mud.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of this, the ground penetrating radar is really going to help, because it's so sooty, and hopefully they don't have to disturb a lot. But I don't know. You are totally right. The flood, and why? And so the big question is, why the flood occurred in Atlantis and all that, and why did they want the giants to go away, and what was all? There's a whole lot of questions I have about all of it.
Well, and there was apparently some pretty advanced technology back then.
Right.
So then we
right.
And then
boom,
it's gone. It's
and so
what?
I know. And so the other night I had a dream. I woke up and I saw some of this advanced technology in my dream, and it was just like, kind of like our computer systems right now are just how we think it's pretty fast and everything. This was like almost, we could jump into the computer, and the colors and like I could jump in and sit there and then see you right now, right? It was like that. It was wild beyond belief. But it was a dream, and I woke up from it, so who knows?
Well, tell me about, I want to hear some more about some of your images that have come through during meditation. Do you see where we are going as a collective, like in the next few years? What kind of information are you getting on that?
I do, kind of. I think a whole lot of people are waking up, and that's why a lot of people are getting sick right now. And I don't know. I'm on the fence on it, but maybe they're trying to disguise all these people that are getting ascension symptoms, because we were talking a lot about ascension symptoms like 3 years ago, heavily. And then that all went away, pretty much. And then COVID came. So I have no idea if there's a correlation or not.
Interesting. So what was the most fantastical vision that you received in one of your Qigong?
Oh gosh. Well, so I'm going to sound crazy now.
No, you're not. You're amongst the crazy people. We love it.
I know, right? Right? Where we're in a quagmire, if you will, and so when I do get into some of the heavier, conscious or subconscious Qigong movements, it gives me a feeling of oneness. And so that's, I guess, what I want to project, is that I feel us all becoming one. And I feel it, I feel it with all the people around us. I mean, and it's not as fast as we'd love it to be, but I do see it, of course, not in the Ukraine so much today, but things are happening. Hey, Bono was just there. So it can't be that bad. No, I guess the biggest thing I've seen is the oneness, that we're all together, we're all holding hands. And with the collective as well, we're all going to be together, where we'll be able to, people say, like my husband's crossed over, my daughter's crossed over, but they're here with me right now. And I know that. And a lot of people don't really, when they have a death of a loved one, they don't really feel like that, or they feel like they're on some other side of somewhere, but they're right here with us. They're just in a different energy form. But I think eventually we're all going to be able to see all this energy. It's my thing. That's why my website's all about energy.
And that's not crazy at all. I mean, I really believe that's the goal.
I hope so. I do, and that's what I think it's about.
So your loved ones that have crossed over, your daughter and your husband, do you ever receive visits from them?
Oh gosh, yes.
How does that present?
All the time. Daily.
Beautiful.
Daily. It presents with hearts. I see, my husband had said, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna prove to you, because he was a Taoist more, actually, because he, like I said, he studied Qigong way before I did. And he was taught by this Vietnamese man, and so I think he got some really, really deep insight, which is kind of cool. So I believe he knows in that Tao how to communicate with me, because it manifests into reality for me, and I can feel it. That's the nice thing about Qigong, is that it kind of merges the energy, so you can feel things. I get tingles, and you can maybe feel a brush of a hand, perhaps.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what does Qigong have any belief or ideas about the light body? Because we're hearing a lot about the light body coming on board right now.
Yes,
what can you
that is the main issue, or not issue, that's the main focus, is we are light bodies. If you know about the teachings of Buddha or Lao Tzu, they were monks that were trying to achieve their light body. And honestly, there are now monks in China, in caves in China, that right now are they've probably elevated. I mean, they're levitating off the ground. And then there is actually a video of one monk who actually just basically levitated right out of here, and he just turned into smoke and light and left the ground, left here. And that's our intention, I think. But we have to be so pure in order for that, right? And a lot of us will never achieve that pureness, right? We can only hope. And I think, Jesus probably was close to that, but it takes a lot of training and being one with self and knowing yourself and not discounting. And a lot of the people with anxiety have that monkey brain going on, and they won't go in and even explore self, to the point where they could remove a lot of that tension and anxiety. But that's the intention with this practice, is to remove it and remove it and remove it until you become light.
Now here's the conundrum that I have. So you want to achieve these states of lightness, the light body, and all of that to continue to ascend. But we're also here to experience everything that this planet has to offer. And a lot of times that comes with a lot of density, or a lot of really interesting things that aren't quite so pure, but a lot
right?
of
Well, and that's why I think that.
I mean, what do you do with all that?
Well, and I think that's why we need some people that are those monks that because they pray for us. I mean, if you think about what prayer is, they're praying for the world, and so they just, as they're praying for the world, they just got out of here. But so I think our whole intention is for us to be communion with others. That's we're here to find our gift and give it away. I believe, and in that process, you're right. There's dense things that happen in relationships, and heaviness, and I think Qigong really shows you that when you do get those dense things that happen, it gives you a good example of how to move it through, so it's not going to affect you and your light body, and hang around. And sometimes it has to hang around for a while to do its job, but not a whole lifetime of it.
It sounds like there's it's a really good practice too for coming into what a lot of people call the 0 point, or just neutrality. And I'm guessing this practice is really good for bringing you into that awareness.
It is, right? Because that's kind of where you get, when you first start, you get into what we call as Wu Chi, and you are grounding, settling, aligning, becoming one with the ground, forming a pearl, if you will, through your body to the heavens and to the earth. And so you first ground, and that helps the connection with your body to the earth and to the heaven when you first start.
Beautiful. Now, if you were to meet, let's say, someone similar to yourself 20 years ago, was struggling with whatever you may have been struggling with at that time, what advice would you give them for coming into center to bring themselves into more of a state of peace?
I would say to that self of mine that you need to take 15 minutes a day for yourself. You need to, during those 15 minutes, just whatever it is that makes you feel one, with yourself, to get into you, And a lot of people can't meditate, and I'm not saying you should go meditate. Go take a walk, go out in nature, you know, whatever, you know, it is that makes and gives you joy and zest for life. The, I think that's the main purpose is, to create that joy that we have every day. And I would say to myself that I need to breathe. And I was such a chest breather. I didn't do any belly breathing. And just 15 minutes a day, and actually throughout your whole day, if you just recognize and take a nice deep belly breath a couple times a day, let out some of that. Because they've actually proven, there's scientific studies now, that how you lose weight now, it's not actually by things, fluids leaving your body. It's actually through breath leaving your body. And yeah, so the more you breathe, if you go out and walk and you breathe a lot, you're actually losing more weight. Or, when you're doing some of the exercise. So that's kind of how it works.
And it's so calming for the nervous system too. Like I heard, if you can do 6 breaths over the course of 1 minute and stretch it out, and it's really not that hard to do, I don't think, but maybe it's because I've been doing breath work for a while. But it brings you into center, it calms you down.
Oh, it so does. I mean, I just finished the book Breath by James Nestor. It's pretty amazing if you have never read that book. He did an actual physical study on breath, because he was a mouth breather, and he found at the end that he basically shut his lips for tape them so he could just nose breathe, and he found just significant changes in his whole physiology after just switching that up and nose breathing for a while. And so yeah, it's pretty amazing, your breath. And so I teach breath work as well.
Oh, great. Well, let's foray into that. Let's talk about what your offerings are, and I'll go ahead and I'll post them below too for everybody to find you.
Great.
Share with us what you have going on.
Well, I'm just ready to launch, actually. I haven't, my website's out there. I haven't really launched. I plan on launching a Qigong course and class. And what it will be is something pretty simple, something I wished I would have had. It's 15 minutes a day on a Zoom class. You can jump in, and we're going to just do 15 minutes of some Qigong warm-ups, get your body going, get your breathing acclimated for the day, and you'll just be surprised after a week. And I'm going to give you a week for free to try it, once I launch, that you'll be amazed at just doing it, just 15 minutes of every day. Just that steadiness causes just profound things to happen in your body.
Oh, I would love to learn. And I mean, come on, if we can't find 15 minutes for ourselves each day, we really need to sit down and have a good talk with our inner self and go, listen here.
Right? And it's fun, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to also, once things really get off the ground, I want to have a class for kids as well, so yeah, it should be fun.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Lynn. This was
you're welcome.
Conversation. I so appreciate you making the time and being patient with me through all of my ups and downs in the past few weeks. So.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, and you look great, and keep it up. I love this podcast.
All right. Thank you, my dear.
Oh, you're welcome.
Go ahead and stay on after I sign off, and we'll say goodbye to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.